Hello everybody and welcome to another Inquisitor episode where we're on my ship, and this is all live commentary unlike usual for the Inquisitor series. The only time that I do live commentary is the beginning and the last episodes, simply because the beginning one I do a lot of exposition, like what the character is, I guess their purpose is and what their backstory is and all that fun stuff. And then at the end I do kind of a wrap-up video, which is what this is. We're going to be talking a little bit about what I thought about the story, what's coming up in the next part of the legacy, and just, general Star Wars stuff. So the first thing, obviously, is the story. So thus far, I think I liked the Inquisitor story quite a bit. And by quite a bit, I mean, like, a lot more than I was imagining I was going to like it. I told this, to you guys several times throughout the series, but I had pretty much everybody in the guild telling me it was like the worst one and they hated it and stuff. And then when I played through it just now, I really liked it. I think maybe it's because I had super low expectations that I just ended up liking it more than I thought I would. But I thought the story was very good. However, in Chapter 2 and Chapter 3, I felt like what they did wrong was they focused too much on the Force Ghost stuff. I think they should have focused more on taking Thanaton out. Like, I don't know, maybe towards... Wow, that was weird, like the text clips through my character's face. I think that they should have made it so you took out Thanaton by the end of Chapter 2, and then Chapter 3 should have been a completely... separate story, or maybe where you're trying to find out more about Calig and all that stuff. But then they should have incorporated Zalek earlier. That's my biggest complaint about the entire Inquisitor story, is that Zalek was used like once in the story. I mean, you continuously saw him through the chapters, but it was only for a brief moment when you were like going up to Dromund Kaas, or not Dromund Kaas, but Korriban, and seeing the overseer do his thing. But it's just like, I know that my apprentice is training and stuff, but I don't have any interaction with them. And then suddenly towards the end of the story, you're like having all these heart-to-heart moments with him, and it's like, but I don't really know you. You've never really given me any story. And the places I did use him in the story, he doesn't like actually do a lot of talking. So it's just really frustrating. I really like him as a character, but they totally dropped the ball on that one as far as the companions go. In fact, I think that's the worst case offender in the entire game, because now I've played every single class to 50, and that's the biggest offender of terrible companions. He's a great companion, but they presented him in a terrible way. In fact, I would rather have Zalek over Ashara. I'd rather have Zalek over, I don't know, maybe Khem? No, I like Khem too much. I don't know. It's just really frustrating. He should have been like a premier thing in the story, like you getting this apprentice and training them and stuff, but he wasn't. And I'm really disappointed with that. But I do look forward to the future when they're going to be, expanding the story, and hopefully that'll be a thing. But that was my biggest complaint with the story. As far as my character story goes, I couldn't have asked for it to go better. Like, everything that I had planned for this character, the story really worked well for it, and I really enjoyed it. I think my character, you guys have really liked. You've really liked my backstory. Stupid droid. You've really liked the stories I've come up with for everything else, and overall, I think you guys really like the series, which is good, because now we're moving on to the Smuggler Series. So let's go to where it is. There's the family tree. So, of the stuff we've seen, right, some of this, there is something new here, but we'll talk that in a moment. We've seen the Jedi-knight. You guys really like the Jedi-knight. His story is very cool. I love him. You guys don't really know my bounty hunter as much. By the way, he's getting like a really cool suit now. Love it. And what you do know that we've done thus far is my trooper, which seemed to be kind of a middle-of-the-road character. Some people liked her, other people were like, yeah, that was an okay story. And I kind of agree with that. But the character itself is really cool, though. I like her. And then you have my smuggler, which is where we're moving on to next. This will be the first character that we've done a repeat series of. Now, the first Smuggler series, most people didn't watch. Why? Because it's much older. We did it when the game came out, and it was live commentary, so it wasn't as good as the series I do now. But that was the first one. That was like the learning experience, you know. Oh, gosh, I love that pet. This is from the pre-order bonus for when you ordered Rise of the Hutt Cartel, by the way. So you can't really get it anymore. Sorry. Anyway, so the thing with that is the Smuggler was a really cool character. People loved my Smuggler character because he just is, he eats it up. He's hilarious. I love him. And everybody who watched the series really loved him as well, which is cool. I'm glad that that was a thing that people really enjoyed. Now, the next part of that, though, is that we're going to be doing the series in this format, in the format that I do all my other series now. So it'll be interesting to watch, but it's just the McCabe story. And I've played through thus far. I've played through a few quests of it. He's at 51. I'm doing this about a week before the series actually launches for you guys. This video, that is. And so far, I've played through a little bit of McCabe, and it's been pretty good. The Smuggler lives up to having his little funny lines, and it's just really good. But I'll talk about more of that when we do that, because I plan on doing a first part episode for that. The first will be a lot like this, with me talking about the character and catching people up with, because a lot of people didn't watch the series, and I understand, so I'm going to kind of catch them up. And the second thing is that we're going to be moving on to like the actual McCabe story in the second first part episode. But that'll be on 2 different days. Saturday and Sunday will be the Smuggler first part episodes, and then part 2 will be on Sunday, or on Monday, which would be cool. And now the other thing here is that this character, so what ends up happening with this character now is she pretty much, during this time in the McCabe story, right, because she's going to move on to McCabe. If you look at the story here, from my bounty hunter to this character, this is about, I mean, he's older than her, obviously. I mean, he's her grandfather, and he's, older than her because he's her father, but they're all alive, during the same period. He's not super old. He had his children when he was, fairly young, and same with him. So it's, it's one of those things where their age difference is pretty close together. So what ends up happening is my Smuggler is kind of like what's the best way to put it, is this Republic version of McCabe. Like, what's going on with McCabe, he's the one who's doing it. Like, in my storyline, this is the McCabe story right here. Like, this little group of characters down at the bottom. And she does the Imperial side, which is really important to know, because as you go through the McCabe story, you kind of see the correlation there. Because remember, he has no idea that she's been doing all this crazy Sith stuff, and she has no idea that her father is this crazy pilot and captain, I guess is a better way to put it. But they're both going to be on McCabe with each other and have no idea. Especially him. He's going to have no idea she's there, because they don't really find out about the Empire, which is, the Empire kind of sneaks up on McCabe, which is really, it's a cool story. I think you guys really like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the Smuggler series, which will do the McCabe stuff. It's not going to be very long. McCabe isn't a very long thing, but it is an entire chapter. And then my Inquisitor will do her McCabe stuff. So it'll be his, and then hers, and then we'll move on to my Sniper, which is what I needed to talk about last. So the Sniper, I did the poll. I polled people on Twitter, on Facebook, and on that one episode a few episodes back about what this character should be as far as race goes. Should he continue to be a Chiss, which, I like the Chiss, so that's cool, or a Cathar, because the Cathar are going to be coming out, and pretty much 90% of the people said Cathar, so it looks like we're going to go that way. It kind of matches with the story because he's not related to anybody in the Legacy. He's not a Lantian, so when I display his name, unlike this, like this name right here, the Lantian Legacy, it won't be that. It'll probably be, what is he? I have a Legacy title for him that I was picking out, but Imperial Infiltrator is what it'll be, and that will be his Legacy title, I think, or one of these. I don't know, maybe Living Legend, who knows? But the thing is, like I said, he's not a part of the Legacy. He's not actually a family member of any of these people. his story is, he's kind of the spine of the entire legacy, from my bounty hunter down, and in fact even up a bit as well. But we'll talk about that all in the story. He's got the way his story is put into the legacy is probably the best thing I've come up with thus far, especially because it explains a lot of things that there are a lot of questions for. And then the other thing is, it'll be the first series that I do that I've played through already. So I've already done the agent story, as you see here. She's level 52. I've got her through. I mean, I've had her up to 50 for quite a while. I think she was like my third or fourth level 50. Third, in fact, yeah. And maybe fourth. And I know the story pretty well, so I know what's going to be coming in the agent story for this guy, which means I can kind of plan out how it's all going to fit together, and I think I've come up with something very good. But we'll obviously see all of that when we get to there. That's maybe a month or two out. Probably shorter than that, actually, because the Smuggler and the Inquisitor McCabe stuff shouldn't take very long. But it is very good, so you guys should really enjoy that. At least that's what I'm hoping. I've come up with a really cool Star Wars plan for you guys, and I think it's going to fit together. So hopefully you guys don't really have any issues with him being Cathar. But I think the agent is going to be a very, very, very fun series, especially because it's my second favorite story in the game, next to the Smuggler one, of course. But I think that's all I needed to talk about there. Overall, what this character ends up doing between now and McCabe is she focuses on kind of building her reputation within the Sith, and she also focuses on becoming a better leader amongst the Dark Council and kind of putting her position in there by doing kind of little things that they want her to do. But there's nothing too important that happens in between this and McCabe. So as far as the story bridge goes, nothing too important. However, with the Smuggler, there is a pretty big story bridge there. So I'll discuss that in his video, which should be out tomorrow based on when this video is supposed to go out. But on that note, we shall see you guys next time.